As our technical session will start sharp at 6 o'clock, and our resource persons for today's technical sessions have already joined us. Uh, I, on behalf of the organizing committee, on behalf of Amar Singh College, I would like to introduce our resource persons for today's session, for our today's technical session. Our first person to be speaking will be Dr. V. Saravanan, who is an assistant professor in the Department of English, School of Social Sciences and Languages at the Vellore Institute of Technology. He did his master's and his MPhil at the Presidency College, Chennai, and has his PhD from the Anna University, Chennai, in English language teaching on the role of English in engineering graduates, placement, a study. With an experience of 19 years in teaching and research, he has presented a number of papers in national and international conferences of repute, widely in the specific areas of ELT, literature, communication skills, and soft skills. Having attended a significant number of workshops himself, faculty development programs for his professional development, having published a number of papers in national, international, and Scopus Index journals. Dr. Saravanan, besides having contributed to publication, has book chapters and conference proceedings to his credit. And also as organizer who has conducted himself the faculty development programs and workshops on better classroom management, soft skills, English language teaching, employability skills, communicative English language teaching, use of ICT and English, vocabulary enhancement, poetry writing, and writing for research. He has worked as a placement officer and has conducted placement training programs at various engineering colleges and has conducted several teacher training workshops on better teaching methodologies, better classroom management for school teachers and college faculty members. He gives career guidance and motivational talks for schools and college students, conducts programs on the art of parenting for parents as well. He conducts yoga, meditation, pranayama, mudra, naturopathy workshops, neurolinguistics programming workshops for the general public. He is, of course, one of the founders and coordinators of the World English Language Learners, Teachers and Training Association, an international forum for sharing English language learning skills and better learning and teaching practices. I request Sir to start with his first technical session. Dr. V. Saravanan. We also have with us our resource person for today's technical session, Dr. Prasanjit Panda, who is an assistant professor teaching in the Department of English and Foreign Languages, GGU, for 12 years, whose doctoral dissertation was on I.A. Richards from Banaras Hindu University and his area of specialization in modern literary theory. He teaches postcolonial literature, cultural studies, and theory in the undergraduate and postgraduate classes, and has presented his papers in more than 55 national and international conferences, having published more than 40 research articles and 8 chapters in reputed journals and books. He is currently editing 2 books on post-colonial literature and post-humanism, and has visited Indonesia for academic visit in the year 2018. Dr. Prasanji will be the first resource person taking the first technical session. I request Dr. Prasanji to kindly start with us.
Thank you so much. It's a good evening to all the dignitaries over there on the virtual platform. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you so much. So I will not waste any time because it's in the evening, and so thank you very much for giving me the chance to speak on the literature.
Yes, sir.
Which is,
Sir, you are audible, but voice is not that clear.
okay. Am I okay? Am I okay with this? Is it audible?
Yes, Dr. Panta, you're audible.
Yeah, but somebody else is actually telling something.
So
Your voice is echoing actually,
yeah,
so it's
it's
not
not very
understandable.
clear, sir. The voice
Okay,
is not clear, sir.
okay. Just give me some 1 minute, please. So how to do the review of the literature, and when you come back to for your research, for thinking that you are doing research, or the review of literature, why it's so important. I'll be telling you more about those things. But if you are certain of the things, most of the time, we find that the students, those are the research scholars, those are the teachers, those who are doing research, they're not, it's becoming kind of a emotional relationship with the research. Only thing is to that they are not reviewing the literature in such a way that after that they will be having kind of a problem when they are doing their research, because this literary review is the most important thing, because it's a scientific process. You cannot do research without reviewing the literature, because you need to know. Say for example, I'm from literature and I've done research on IRHs. There are several dissertations have
Hello. Hello, Panda sir.
Hello.
Sorry to disturb, sir, but your voice is not clear, sir.
Is it not clear till now?
Yeah, is my screen visible?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yes,
okay,
sir.
okay. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you again, and bear with me for this technical glitches. I'm so sorry for that. I'll be doing that. How to review literature, and this is important when you are doing research. Even if you are not doing research, even if you are writing some research article, if you are writing some MPhil thesis, if you're writing some MA dissertation or undergraduate dissertation, this review of literature is a must, and it needs to be it needs to be done very scientifically, very intelligently, and I'll show you that it will be helping the students, the young students, the budding research scholars, that how to do the review of the literature, and why should we do it, and what's the purpose of reviewing the literature, and what are the questions which we should be asking while reviewing the literature. Let me coming to the first slide. A review of literature, a literature review, is a survey of scholarly sources on a specific topic. Means when you are having a kind of a topic, you have chosen it for doing research. Now, how to go ahead? As for example, you have chosen a diaspora, but you do not know other things. How to go ahead of the thing? Now then you have to do the review of literature. That what are the things already available before you? That does mean that what are the many people or many researchers have already done or something on the diaspora. There are several phases of diaspora. There are several analysis has been done on diaspora, or the migration, the transnationalism, and the post-colonial diaspora, third generation diaspora, second generation diaspora. So what's new about it? Because the topic you have chosen, diaspora, it's okay. But what are the things which is left out till? What are the things which you have done already? The work has been already done. So what you need to do is that you have to be specific about your topic. If you are not specific, if you're confused, then obviously this review of literature cannot help you. So this review of literature, why I'm giving you most importance, because it will help you to understand or to find out the area where we should concentrate, where we should focus upon. And it also helps you to enable your capability, or to give you a kind of a focused mind, or give you a kind of a concentration, that in which way you should go ahead, because there are several ways, as I told you. So literature review is a survey of scholarly sources on a specific topic. Specific topic means, again, I'm taking, again coming to this topic, because as for example, I have taken the IRHs. Now I have done on aesthetics of iResearch that there are several theses has been written on the aesthetics. There are several has been dissertation. The thesis has been written on iResearch, maybe. But in which way I should move in, which way I will be feeling comfortable, that I need to find out. So I need to take a kind of a phenomenological approach. You should understand that what do you mean by phenomenology? That you have to keep the bracketing the things which is already done, and you have to find out the gaps that still remaining on your topic. So it provides you, the literature review, it provides you an overview of the current knowledge that is available, allowing you to identify the relevant theories, the methods, the methodologies, and the gap existing in the research. Now, I may again tell you, my dear participants and my respected teachers, that there is several scam is going on the in the internet in the name of knowledge and the ontological survey. There are several articles are there. There are several books are there. There are several resources are there. And and sometimes we do not know. We are coming out from the master's degree level. We are coming from the graduation level. We don't understand what is good and what is bad. And we choose some of the journals, some of the articles, and we use them in our research. That is and at that time only we can feel that you are going in a wrong directions, because you need to know that which articles, which books, which chapters, which method, which resources you will be. Can you mute that? Yeah. So which resources you should choose? So there are several plenty, and obviously you are in the academia. I'm also in academia in 12 years or 3, probably more than that. But I'm still searching, still finding that there is few resources are there in the name of research. They are doing research. Other than that, there are several scams are going on. So please be aware of those knowledge. When you are understanding, when you are evaluating the knowledge about your research, when you are reviewing that knowledge, when you will be evaluating that knowledge, when you'll be finding the gaps, be careful enough to understand that what you need. The most important thing, my dear students, we do not understand that what we need because we do not have any experience. This is your first-hand experience of doing research, and that is why this review of literature is important. This review of literature is something like a kind of a yardstick, kind of a touchstone, kind of a torchbearer, kind of a light that will go through, or that will carry you towards a better understanding, to a better analysis, or towards creating a very good hypothesis for your research. So writing a literature review involves, or reading or surveying a literature review involves finding relevant publication, as I told you, very relevant publications, such as books or the journals articles, critically analyzing them and explaining what you found. There are some key steps, so I'll be telling you, because you cannot search, or probably this is the age of the virtual post-humanism. This age is called the machine learning, the digital literature, the AI, artificial intelligence. When because when you are doing research, you should be classical. You should be. I'm not telling you that narrowing your research. Rather, I'll be telling you that you should be very much classical when you will be finding, when you will be evaluating, and when we will be understanding those literature which is already available. So here, literature means the knowledge. The literature means that materials, that resources, which are available in this world, in this virtual world, and you need to choose. You need to pick up what is going to help for you, what is going to be helping for you for your research, and what is going to create a hypothesis for your research. So research is not something like that you will be combining, you'll be collecting the materials and you'll be writing the research. No, it's not a research. Research is something like that you will be having a kind of one focal point, one topic, one hypothesis, one center point where you will be putting your concentration. And to reach that goal, you need to review the literature. So it's again I'm telling you, it's again a trial and error theory. It's again a trial and error theory, because you do not know in which journal will be helping you and which journal will not help you. So because of that, you need to read and wait. You need to read and wait. You need to read and wait. So there is a search for relevant literature, evaluate resources, identify themes. Evaluate research means for a journal, if you take it a journal, maybe one part or probably 10% of the journal, 10% of the article will be helpful for your research, and the 90% you will not be. I'm not telling you that the article is very bad, but for the sake of your PhD, for the sake of your research, the 10% is sufficient. The 10% will be sufficient. So you have to protect that 10%. You have to select that 10%. You have to evaluate then. Is it okay? So identify the themes, debates, and gaps. This is very much important. Identify the themes. You should be pinpointed. Again and again, I'm telling you, identify the themes, debates. What are the debates is going on? There are several debates. As for example, when you take about post-colonial debates, there are third world literature, there are first world literature, there are Commonwealth literature, there are diaspora, transnationalist, there is eco-criticism, there is eco-philosophy, there are several discourses are coming in. There are the post-colonial, post-humanism. Nowadays we are understanding post-colonial ecofeminism, eco-philosophy. We are all aware of this fact. So there are several debates are going on, my dear, and there are several gaps. If there is a debate, if there are arguments, obviously there should be the gaps. So you have to find the gaps. So again and again, I'm telling you that review of literature is something like Husserl's phenomenological point of view. You have to take Husserl's phenomenological point of view. You have to find out that epoch. You have to find out that gaps. You have to bracket it that this is not done. This is not good. This is not good. This is not good. And then again, you will be finding that very important thing, which will be helping you in your research, to understanding your research, to evaluate your research, to give a right direction to your research. So a good literature review doesn't just summarize the sources. You will not be summarizing. Just it's an introductory part of that literary review. That it's not a summary that you will be compiling the reviews, you will be compiling the resources, and you'll be writing and you'll be synthesizing this. It's not something like that. You will be critically evaluate the resources which is available even in the library, on the virtual library, or in the articles, in the journals, book chapters, to have a clear picture of the state of the knowledge on that very subject. You have to create a kind of a knowledge. When we are doing research, what we are doing, we are this information is nothing but you have to transform the information into a knowledge, and then knowledge into wisdom. Do you understand? The informations are there. So you have to turn the information into knowledge, and then knowledge into wisdom. Until unless you reach the wisdom, you cannot write the thesis. Is it okay? So then again, it will be, if you're writing the thesis about, depending on the knowledge, it will be again assimilation and the compilation of several resources. It's only the information are there on your research, not the analytical part. So for an analytical part, you have to be alone, stand alone. You have to analyze those things, and you will be creating or disseminating a knowledge, wisdom among the readers by writing your research. So this is very much important. Now, literature review is to tell you to conclude this one. The literature review is nothing but is not only not only collecting that materials, but also analyzing these things, and also overview the current knowledge which is available on the virtual platform or the offline platform, that is library. You can go to the magazine house, you can go to the bookstores, you can go this the print journal. There's several others are there. Obviously nowadays in the 2022 we cannot expect the offline journals and all. Nowadays it's all available on the internet, the virtual platform. So this is how we will be proceeding to a literature review. Is it enlarging your knowledge about the topic? Writing literature review lets you gain and demonstrate the skill in two areas. I'll be telling you, probably this slide actually come earlier. The two areas: information seeking. First of all, you will be having a kind of an ability to scan the literature efficiently, using manual and computerized methods to identify a set of useful articles and books. Obviously, you know this. There is a wonderful thing is there in front of in our hand, that is called Google, and Google can give us everything, every information. Now, what will be done after collection of the materials? It's called critical appraisal, the ability to apply principle of analysis to identify unbiased and valid studies. As for example, I have done an IA research on way back in 2011. I was not about it, but I'm just I'm sharing the information, sharing the experiences of that, how I'm doing the literature review. In those days, I was not at all, very much habituated with this internet things. 2006-7, I'm talking about. So what I do when I was doing that library thing, I was going to the library and I'm reading the books and I'm making a notes of that. What I just did, that all the aestheticians, they are also the theorists. So what I did, that I put down not only the theories but the aesthetics. I pinpointed the focus. The aesthetics, they are talking about the aesthetics, art. Maybe it's in Aristotle, maybe it's a Horace, maybe it's a Longinus, maybe up to the Derrida or other part of the stories. I'm not going to tell you that. But these things, so I pinpointed the aesthetic part of that, not the theory, not the criticism. So I needed to read each and every theory, but I need to take out only one thing which is important after analysis, that is the aesthetic part. So maybe it's a 10%, maybe it's a 5%, maybe it's a 2%, but I need to collect those after an analysis, after organizing those resources, I have to wait, I have to analyze that which particular aesthetic, which particular topic would be working on my research areas. So you have to identify the areas of controversy in literature. There are several controversies out there, and when there is controversy, there will be a gap. So this is a scientific. So there are several questions I'll be asking. There are several questions in there, so that you will be asking yourself, and then the answers will be coming in, that how to proceed on the review of literature. So identify the debates, identify the gaps, identify the controversy, identify those the works which is not done and the works which is done, and then you will be able to find the gaps. And when there be gaps, you will be finding your own way towards your research, because you have found and then only you have found only that topic on which you'll be working. So why literature review? It will help you to attain good knowledge about the field of inquiry. As I told you, it will generate hypothesis. The methodology common to the field, there should be a methodology. When we are doing postcolonial literature, there will be different methodology. If you are doing research on folk literature, there will be different methodology. If you are doing literature, if you are doing diaspora literature, if you are doing eco-criticism, ecofeminism, there is different methodology. And if you are doing, the research on iResearch or the Derrida or Gayatri Chakraborty work or Baba or Ajay Jamet or many, Paul Deman or Ellis Miller or Lacan or Freud, etc., you will be having a kind of a different kind of a methodology. But if you do not review the literature, you may be having a kind of a problem for understanding the methodology. Because if you do not have, as for example, feminism, the feminism does have its own methodology. And that is why the feminism comes in. As Colodny says, that we do not have the methodology, we need to create a methodology. Even each and every discourse, Elaine Walton is saying that the wilderness criticism in the wilderness, she was saying that why the feminism fails, because it doesn't have the methodology. We borrowed the methodology from the male feminist, and that's why it fails. Likewise, each and every research, it tends to have, or it must have, the methodology. And that methodology you should not miss. The literature review allows the reader to be updated with the state of research in a field, and any contradiction that may exist while challenges finding of other research studies. This is very much important that the research field of any contradictions, there should be contradictions. If you are doing research on deconstructions, the deconstructions, there are several deconstructions. The critics are there. Paul Deman's different, Hillis Miller different, Gayatri Chakraborty Spivak different, Harold Bloom different. So there are different Yale group of critics, I'm telling you. They are all different. They're all differently telling about deconstruction. So there must be having the contradictions. iResearch coming to the new critics. There was Alan Tate, there was T.S. Eliot, there were Brooks, there were Wimsett and Beardsley, there were Ransom. But look this, iResearch was not considered as a part of new critic. No school has given him any chance to be in the very school. Neither structuralist nor new critics. Why? Because he has got some contradictions over structuralism also, or also new criticism also. So I reviewed these things, these contradictions, that where are the gaps? And you only can find the gap when you will be reviewing the literature from the available sources. I'm not telling you that if you don't have the available sources, you don't read the other sources. You will be reading, but you need to judge. At the same time, you need to judge which will help you, which will find you the contradictions, which will give a kind of a challenge to your work. Because when I read that why literature review, after giving the definition of review, I ask that why should I do it? So when you take iResearch, or when you take any philosophy, or when you take diaspora or post-colonialism, you should ask that why diaspora? And then the answer will come in. Why diaspora? So from these answers, you have to find out from the relevant sources that why should I read diaspora? What are the new things in it? And what are the works has been done already in the field of diaspora? Without understanding that, or without understanding that gap, without understanding that which is left out, your research will be nothing but a copy from already happened research, already done research, already written research. So it helps to develop our research investigative tools and to improve our research methodologies. So you will be finding the investigative tool methodology to find out or to understanding or to go with your research. So first of all, you need to understand that the contradictions, the challenges, the debates that which are existing on the field of knowledge, in the form of a knowledge, in the form of resources, those resources you have to take it. If you are doing if you're again, I'm just giving an example so that you might feel comfortable with that. If you're doing it, Amitabh Ghosh is ecofeminism or eco-criticism or some climate changes, or cli-fi, climate and fi means the fantasy, just like the sci-fi. So if you're doing this, if you're writing a thesis on your thesis on this Amitabh Ghosh, there is several research has been done on the climate changes or probably particularly on Amitabh Ghosh. So what's new in it? But if you take that myth, if you take the local dialects, if you take the language, if you take the migration, if you take the third generation migration as it is there in the Guns Island, the 2019 publication, then you can find that there are some contradictions. Amitabh Ghosh's interpretations of climate, Amitabh Ghosh's interpretation of migration, how it is different from the others, Anita, the Miranai, the Mirasile, the Anita, the Alexander, Mirasile, Mina Alexander. These are the Indian diaspora, Sujata Bhatt. So how this Amitabh Ghosh's migration is different from theirs. So there should be a contradiction. So if you do not find, the literary review will be helping you to understand these contradictions. And then if you find that contradiction, then if you find that gap, it will help you to find out the investigative tool and the methodology. So literature review, it helps or provides the knowledge about the problems, I particularly told you, about the problems faced by the previous researcher while studying the same topic. It will help you out. It provides the knowledge about the problems faced. Each and every researcher faces the same problems. But when you're taking a topic, any topic, you can find that the other researcher, when he was doing or she was doing the research, what she has felt or what he has felt while doing the research on the same topic. And if you find that, then obviously that problems become your solution. That problems become your part of the research. Do you understand? So do not find the solution to your research, rather find out the problems, find out the questions, find out the contradictions, find out the challenges, find out the gaps. The research gaps, I'm telling you. What we make a mistake in research is that already available things and we take it as our research. Because it's a known fact that हम लोग उसको लिख लेंगे. We can write it because there are several internet sources are there. No, it's not. You are not doing the research. Research itself, it says that research, it is already done. What you are thinking, it is already done. You have to re is a prefix. How to find it? Then again, means help you to go for a review. Again, so you go for a review. So you have to find out those contradictions, again, challenges, gaps, debates, and that becomes your part of the research, the methodology. And you have to create your own methodology. You have to create your own canon. As for example, the food in literature, drinks in literature, alcohol in literature, nowadays is going on. Animal studies in literature. As for example, under my supervision, the food in literature is working on the food anthropology. So why food is important? There are several research has been done. As for example, food in diaspora has been done. So we need to find out that is there any available sources are there which can tell us that there are some problems related to the food and literature. So we have to find it out. Research scholars and I, obviously we are searching out that gap, that contradictions, and it will help out. So how to find that one? Obviously we have to go for literature review. So describe the relationship of each study to other research studies under considerations. So, not everyone, you will be having several topics, but this is not should not be there that you will be rejecting the other research. Maybe you will be finding, maybe you can find a relationship. Each and every study is connected. So identify new ways to interpret and shed light on any gaps of the previous research. And that is why you have to do the literature review. So you have to, the new ways of interpretations. The food and alcohol. These are not new thing. In Victorian literature, or in obviously the Mayor of Casterbridge, you know this. The alcohol, even the Charles Dickens's Miss Havisham, the cake imagery, Margaret Atwood's the cake imagery. So there are several things are there, several food images are there, which is related to psychology, related to the anthropology, related to the culture, related to the migration, diaspora, everything. But I need to find out, or you need to find out, the gaps where it is not been described, or where it has not been clarified, where it is not been analyzed. And you have to find out those gaps. So see what has and what has not been investigated. And these things you will be finding by doing the literature review successfully. There are several things and arguments. You just argue with yourself. Ask yourself some questions. What is the specific thesis? What is the problems or research question that my literature review helps to define? You have to find out. This should not be, you do not have any idea in your mind and you are doing the literature review. It's not a trial and error thing. You have to clear cut of your specific obviously the topic, some problems, some research questions. So therefore the research questions will lead you towards your final dissertation, selecting your final dissertation. What type of literature review I am conducting? Am I looking at the issues of theory, methodology? कौन सा review मैं कर रहा हूं? Which are the reviews I am doing? Methodology I'm reviewing the issues of theory, I'm reviewing the themes, I'm reviewing the debates, I'm reviewing the arguments, am I reviewing the contradictions or the policy matters? When you're going for a migration, there are several policy matters are there. Am I doing the policy matters? Quantitative research, as for example, on the effectiveness of a new procedure. Qualitative research, as for example, the studies of loneliness among the migrant workers, if I'm giving the examples. So which one I'm conducting? It's the theory of migration, or the methodology of migration, policy of migration. So there are several, this. Can you mute it? Can you mute it, please?
Participants to kindly mute their mics.
Please mute.
Ms. Rakshanda, kindly mute your mic.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am, so much. So when you are reviewing the literature, you need to focus on this, that particular. You need to be assured of the things that you are okay with your topic. If you're not okay with the topic, what the things we will be reviewing? The basic questions. This is not a very funny thing. This is very serious issues that you are doing research. So either you are doing a literature review for the literature review for theory. There are several theories are there, several methodologies are there, several policies are there. There are several the quantitative research, the effectiveness of new procedure, or qualitative research, that is the studies of loneliness among the migrant workers. So there's an emotional point of view, there are practical point of views, there are several things out there. So your arguments should based on this fact while doing the literature review. So literature review is more and more important. It's becoming more and more important nowadays. Because without understanding, without having a question, look this, research means what? Question. Research means what? A kind of a process. We are not sure of the things until or unless we completed our dissertation, is it? What does the research lies? Research lies in the conclusion, not in the chapters. There should be analysis. They are analysis. So the research is actually based on that very conclusion, that 4 or 5 or 8 pages. That's a synthesis of that. So how to do that? How to come to this? How to come to this? Now you need to create a plan that I'll be finding the research problems. I'll be finding the contradictions. And before that, you need to understand that what you are going to search for that. We automatically, I'm telling you, 50% of the researcher, we do not concentrate on thinking of that, what we are doing, what we are searching, what we are selecting, what we are searching in this internet. We do not know. So we need to create a kind of a keywords pertaining to our research, and then it will lead us to this. Because the knowledge is a vast ocean, and this internet things is a vast one. There is no end at all. So it may lead you towards nothingness. You'll be depressed. That there are several articles you have downloaded, but among them, nothing is important for my research because you are not sure of this thing. There are several online articles are there, several databases are there. There are thousand e-books are there on the pirated sites also. Even there are some government sites also. You can find it, download it freely. But tell me that have you analyzed it? When you will analyze? How to analyze? If you have downloaded thousands materials, will you read it thousands materials to find out one single research problems, one single contradictions, one single gap? No, probably not. It's not possible. So what you need to do is that you have to limit. You have to ask yourself that am I doing it? Am I sure of this? What I'm searching for? Will it be working for my research? Is it related to my topic? So therefore, you have to make a key points. You have to create a key points, and from the key points, you have to search. What is the scope of my literature review? What type of publication am I using? As I am telling you, that what type of journals, books, government documents, popular media, the social media, or at what extent I'll be taking the help from the social media. We need to be sure of that. At what extent we should be taking the help from the journals, or at what extent we should be taking the help from the journals or the articles, or what discipline I'm working. Is it nursing psychology, sociology, medicine, literature, geography of feminism, racial feminism? There are several disciplines. There are several eco-creative feminism, eco-philosophy, eco-critical thing, or sci-fi, post-humanism, lot many. Should I take the popular media, the populist media studies, the populism? So will it work for my research? So before you review the literature, you need to be very, very pertinent to your research, very, very individualistic, very, very selfish to your research. I'm telling selfish with consciously. I'm telling selfish. You have to keep aside so many. You have to keep aside so many articles, even though they are good. They are written by great scholar. They are written by great man. But for the sake of your literature, for the sake of for the thesis, you need to sideline those things. Otherwise, you may fall into the vast ocean, and you cannot do anything. This is very practical advice or suggestion I'm giving you to my dear students. Now ask yourself some questions like, what is the specific thesis problems and questions that my literature review helps to define? I'm just, it's repetitive. Yes. So how good was my information seeking? Has my search been wide enough to ensure I have found all the relevant materials? Has it been narrow enough to exclude irrelevant material, which I actually was talking about? Has my research been wide enough to ensure I have found all the relevant materials? Have you got it, all the relevant materials? How you do be sure about this? So this is very much important, because you know this, when you do research, when you start writing, we're still searching for the materials. That's very bad, because it may dismantle your situation. It may destabilize your situation, the present situation where you are writing your research. So how good was you have to analyze yourself. Has my research been successfully done, or search successfully done? What are the things which is relevant to my research? What are the materials which is irrelevant to my research? You have to keep it aside. As I tell you, that it's all about phenomenology. You have to keep aside the irrelevant materials which you have found on the internet, because most of the materials you found on the internet, it seems that it's relevant, but it's not good. It's not up to the mark. Has it been narrow enough to exclude irrelevant material? You have to narrow it. Narrow means here the selfishness, as I told you. You have to narrow it down. Narrow down means you have to come into the deep to the, unless you reach to the pinpointed. Do you understand? So has it been narrow enough to exclude irrelevant material? Is the number of sources I have used appropriate for the length of my paper? Is enough? Is the number of sources is enough for my length of the paper? Because in your research, in your dissertation, obviously, according to the Gmt-8, you have to have at least 150 pages. Probably, it's an ideal thesis, 150 to 175. It's an ideal one. I'm not telling you that it's a must. So for that matter, to write those 120 pages or 150 pages, 175 pages, or 220 pages, this is enough for a research. Is it enough for those materials? Is enough for writing those pages? It's not something like that. You'll be writing a story on your research. You'll be analyzing. So for an analysis, you need to have resources. You need to have publications. You need to have articles to support your arguments. You need to have books to support your arguments, those debates, those contradictions. If you don't have, then obviously you are nothing but writing a story on your research. So please remember that when you are selecting your research materials, you are a professional, you are narrowing down, you are a selfish one. So is the number of sources I have used or you have used appropriate for the length of my paper? This is only one thing. Or the paper you have selected after reviewing the literature, is it worth mentioning on my research? Can I use it as an in-text citation or as a research resource? Have I critically analyzed the literature I use? Have you analyzed it? Do I follow through a set of concepts of the questions, comparing items to one another, to one research to the another research, to one finding to the another finding, to one questions to the another questions, to one gaps to the another gap? Have you done this? So literature review, if you do, or when you have completed the literature review, you have to put this question in your mind. And if you do this, if you have the answer, then obviously your literature review is wonderful. So do I follow through a set of concepts and questions? Because as I told you that when you're doing the literature review, you have a set of key concept, the keys, that whether you have downloaded one article or you have bought some article, whether that actually article is justified by your key concept, yes or no, you have to tick it. If it ticks it, if it's correct, then you keep it aside. Otherwise, you just say that, okay, thank you, bye bye. You are not good for my research. You are good for others, but you're not good for my research. So have I critically analyze the literature I use? Do I follow through a set of concept, questions, comparing items to each other in a ways they deal with them, instead of just listing and summarizing and compiling the things, and do I assess them, discussing the strength and the weaknesses? Each and every literature, each and every resource you have found on the literature, on the internet, in the library, on the offline, you do assess. Very important. You have to assess. You have to discuss the strength and the arguments. You have to find out the strength and the weakness, and you have to find out that whether it will be working for my research or not. And because of that, you need to have the key terms, that whether it is justified or not. If it is not, chhod do usko, leave it. Have I cited the discussed studies contrary to my perspective? That's, as I told you, have I cited and discussed studies contrary to my perspective? Means you have to sochna padega. You need to think about that whether I have taken a wrong article or not, whether this article actually contradicting my way of hypothesis, my hypothesis, my process of study, my research. Is it contradictory to me? Then obviously it will be giving a kind of a what I could say, a very wrong impression towards to the thesis. So will the reader, will the reader find my literature review relevant, appropriate, and useful? This is the most important thing. It should be relevant, it should be appropriate, it should be useful. Is it okay? So you need to, again, I'm just concluding this one, that you need to have a key concept, you need to have and then you search it, you find it, you analyze it, you find the contradiction and the gaps, you find that it is relevant or not, you find it is appropriate or not, you find it is useful or not, or whether what are the things which is relevant to your studies and what are the things which is not relevant to your studies. You can keep them aside.
Thank you so much, Dr. Pasanjay. I'm still in awe listening to, we're trying to sum it up, one of the basic tools, one of the basic techniques that all of us need while doing our research.
Ma'am, it's still not done. It is not done. I have some slides.
Okay.
Yeah. So again, the evaluate and identify the gaps. Again, the people that you're just asking yourself that what you should do and what you should not do while reviewing the literature. Now you should evaluate and identify the gaps. Has the author formulated the problem and issues? It's not your partner. Now you should do that has the author who has written that article, whether he has dealt with the problem or not. If he has dealt with the problem, if he has given a solution to that or not, if he has analyzed or not, then only you will be selecting that article as a source for your own analysis. There are several articles out there which is good, the best probably, at par. But they are analytical or not, you need to choose, you need to sort, you need to see it. Has the author formulated a problem issues? Is it clearly defined? Is it significance? Is it significant? Sorry, I'm talking. There is a scope, the severity, the relevance clearly established. You have to ask, could the problem have been approached more effectively from another perspective? A problem has got several issues, several solutions. Is there any, the 2 or 3 approaches are there? What is the author's search orientation? Interpretive, critical science, or the combinations? Which methodology he was taking? Which theoretical approaches he was taking in that very article? What is the author's theoretical framework? Psychological, developmental, feminist, post-colonialist, eco-feminist. Is it mentioned in that very article? Is it analyzed in the very article? Look, it's very easy to find an article on the internet and to add it in your bibliography, or sorry, works cited or in-text citation. But when we do oftentimes, I have seen, given lectures, I have seen that several people, several researchers, they only to make a length bigger, they give quotations from other articles. It's not good. Whether your critical bent of mind is having a connection with that connection has to be made. Otherwise, it's futile to give any comment from another, from any quotations from another. It's futile. So, what is the relationship between the theoretical and the research perspective? Has the author evaluated the literature relevant to the problem issues? Does the author include literature taking positions he or he doesn't agree with? So there is a contradiction, there is a debate, there is a gap. There's is the literature actually, understanding the gap, or analyzing the gap, or illustrating the problems? You need to understand that. That is why, after that, if you are satisfied with this, then only take that article as a resource. Otherwise, you don't do that. There are several articles are written which is having a biasness. There's a very biased component, very biased design. In post-colonial literature, post-colonial things, you can, or feminism, you can find the biasness. The methodology is biased. The writing is biased. The analysis is biased. There biasness is there. As we already know that the black feminism is already different, Indian feminism is already different, South Asian feminism is different, the third world feminism is totally different. We know this, and obviously the England, the Commonwealth, the American or the others, the first world countries, their feminism is totally different. So if you quote from their point of view, if you review their feminism and you apply it into your own research, you are Asian. You are doing Asian feminist point of view. You are doing research. Will it be sufficient? Will it be okay? Probably not. And that is why you need to be careful enough while you are evaluating the resources. This is what I call the literature review. So how accurate and valid, this is what actually I'm talking about. You have to be accurate and obviously the valid, the analysis, you have to analyze, because you cannot it's not a buffet, you cannot choose and pick. You can pick and throw. It's not. So you have to put it after analysis, after analyzing the thing, after weighing things, after measuring the things, after connecting with the other researchers, after finding the gaps, after finding the solution to your problems. Is it okay? Same category, same thing will be applied to the research also, from where you are taking the resources. Now, the author of that article has illustrated my points or not, has pointed out any psychological issues or not, any developmental issues or not, any policies or not, or any lift any contradictions or not, or analyze any debates or not. If this is flat, if it is not analyzed, then please don't take that article for your research. Evaluate and identify the gaps. In material written for a popular readership, does the author use appeal to emotions, to one-sided example, rhetorically charged language and tone? Is there any objective basis to the reasoning? or the author merely probing what he or she has already believes. That's most important. When you are doing research, you become prejudiced. You fall in love with your research. You should not be. The first thing the literature review will help you to understand that you have to be practical. You should not fall in love with your research. If you are, then obviously it will be kind of a one-sided research, not something like that. You are if the research is based, or probably it's made for the others to read. The literature review helps you to make a kind of a scientific brain or scientific way. How does the author structure the argument? Can you deconstruct the flow of argument to see whether and where it breaks down logically? Because each and every has got three things. Literature after doing the literature review, three things is very much important: thesis, antithesis, and synthesis. The dialectical thing. So you have to find out that whether the author of that video article has managed to have these three things: thesis, antithesis, or synthesis, or not. If it doesn't have, please don't select that article. It is not at all well argumented. Please do not take that. It is prejudiced, and it is not at all a research article. It's only a data. In what ways does this book or article contribute to our understanding? How does it help us to create a knowledge storage? How does it help us to create a kind of a transform us towards a way of wisdom? How it will be? What are the strengths and the limitations of this? How does this book and the article relate to the specific thesis? And how? What are the questions? Will it help us to questions? To bring out the questions which I'm asking in that very research. This is very much important. How it will be helping me to create a kind of my hypothesis, or to analyze my hypothesis, to give a solution, to bridge the gap, to write in between the gaps. Do you understand that? So this is what the literature review is very much essential for for understanding the things. Now there are some resources which as you already know it, that your university catalogs, you can find it. That Google Scholar is a very good one nowadays. Jobstore database, you can find it. EBSCO, Project Muse, Medicine for Medline for Life Sciences and Biomedicines, EconLead for Economics, and InSpec for Engineering and Physics and all. There are several others are there. Francis and Teller are there. Project Muse are there. So you can find some real articles which are obviously it is. If you have the key, if you have prepared the key, then only you can search it. And obviously the resources, obviously we all believe that the resources which are in the database are really helpful to to answer your queries, to your questions. So, to conclude that, a literature review is a piece of discursive prose, not a list describing or summarizing one piece of another. It's usually a bad sign to see that every paragraph beginning with the same name of a researcher. Fine. Instead, organize a literature review into sections that present themes, identify trends, including relevant theories. So these are you need to do. And obviously, I will not be reading those, because to summarize, I need to tell you that when you are doing the literature review, you need to be pinpointed. You need to have a key topics, the key sites, and you need to analyze and evaluate whether I should take it, whether I should not take it. What are the relevant, what are the irrelevant? Whether it actually justify my questions or not. These are the things which you ask while doing the literature review. Thank you so much. That's all. Thank you so much for giving me the chance. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Prasanji. It's really been overwhelming listening to you. Sum up one of the most important aspects of research, which every researcher, no matter from which field or discipline, will have to start their research from. That's a review of literature. Try to sum it up and share your experience and expertise on review of literature with our participants. We're highly grateful to you, sir, for the beautiful presentation. The floor is now open for discussions. I'm sure our participants have a lot of questions and clarifications they might need from you. I request our participants to kindly raise their hands if they have a question, unmute themselves, but kindly follow the protocol of the webinar and kindly speak one at one time. Mr. Imtiaz Shahid, you've raised your hand. Kindly unmute yourself and pose the question to our resource person and expert. Without wasting much time, I'll go to the other participant, Ishwarya P, who has again raised their hand. If you have a question, please. Do you have a question? You have raised your hand.
Hello. Good evening, sir.
Yeah, good evening, ma'am.
Good evening, ma'am. Shabina, ma'am. Am I audible, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Okay. First, your session was very informative, and thank you. My question is, can you just enlighten us about translation studies and how to start with research in translation studies?
Ma'am, again, there is a problem. Look, this translation study is not only one topic. This is an area. I guess it's an area. When you talk about the translation studies, you need to take about that which translation you are taking. If you are taking, as for example, I'm a Bengali one. So if I want to take up translation studies, fine. So I'll be taking that Bengali to English or Bengali to Hindi or Hindi to English or something like that. So I'll be selecting. So if you are working on translation studies, ma'am, then you need to take the area from where you are translating. If it is from Malayalam to Hindi, Malayalam to to Gujarati, Malayalam to English, Malayalam to others, then you have to select those things because there are several translations are there. You understand that? Then again, you have to pinpoint it. Whether the translation studies is written by the female author, who is translating, this is another thing, or whether it is written by the male author. So again, if it is a children literature or if it is a adult literature, so you need to it is the transition is from the before colonialism or after colonialism. So there are several key concepts are there, ma'am. So transition studies is an area where it's a vast area. So first of all, if you're doing the transition studies as a research, so you have to narrowing down, please, before you review the literature, you have to narrow it down that from which one or which perspective or which area you are taking as a transition. Is it okay? Because it's a vast study. It's a world literature has been translated, from Kashmir to Kanyakumari. There are several transitions going on. We are reading the translation, so you have to pinpoint it that which way or which area you are taking. Is it okay?
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you so much, Ishwarya, for your question.
Yes, I have another question. It's not a question. I just want to ask him. Being a beginner, sir, what kind of books should I select? Which book can be very informative on translational studies? That is recent concepts and theories.
Ma'am, there are several books are there, which what I could say, there are several books, but yeah, please inbox me. You just note down my numbers and WhatsApp me. I'll be obviously sending you the list in this. I have that. I have the catalogs. I have all these things. And probably Professor Regin sir and Sabina ma'am, they are having my numbers, my email address. Please email me or anytime, or please you just put a message in this. I'll be sending you the book list, please. Or
Thank you.
probably
Okay, thank you, sir.
I have also the e-copies also I'll be sending you.
Thank
Oh,
you so
sir,
much.
thank you, sir.
So much for your generosity and
Yeah, thank you.
your help. Thank you, Aishwarya. Our next question is from Dr. Basharat Shamim, who is a faculty member here in Amar Singh College. So kindly address yourself.
Yeah, thank you. Good evening, everyone. Commendations for this highly informative lecture. Now, my question is about literature review. Suppose there is a scholar who is aiming to work on a particular topic or an area on which previously absolutely nothing has been done. I mean, no academic research has been done, and how would he then, how he or she would then cope up with literature review? For example, it is something that I experienced during my MPhil. I was working on a topic on which absolutely, I mean, there had been no academic research, no article, no thesis had been published on that, and I had to work with, I had to work on, few newspaper articles or non-academic writing. So, what would be your suggestion on how to deal with such a situation?
Yeah. Basrat sir, thank you so much because it reminds me my days also. Uh, just because we are still colleagues and we can share this platform for this one. I still remember that when I was doing my research on iResearch in 2005-6, I didn't have that the platform of internet and all. So you get that
Apologies, sir. Ms. Ashma Gupta, kindly mute yourself. Thank you. Proceed, sir. Apologies for the
Yeah. So what we do in this perspective, I didn't have any books on iResearch. Probably there are only 3 theses has been written before that on iResearch. And obviously the research came to Banner Sindh University as a guest faculty for 1 month. So I had got an experience of that, for researching. Now, the thing is that still I did not have that article. I didn't have those things. But what I did, sir, I reviewed the literature which is based on the aesthetics. Look, I didn't have anything on iResearch, as for example, that you had actually faced. But I I created my own canon. That how I would be looking, taking care of that aesthetic of iResearch. It's not at all done at that time. But I was searching those things, creating those things. It's not about the literature review, but how the people are writing about the aesthetic, how aesthetic as a literature, as a literary theory. That is, I made a canon and then I put that canon to iResearch. This is I done. Next, another thing I have probably I can suggest you, sir, that I'm working on food nowadays. Food on literature. My research scholar is doing. Now, food and literature as a thesis, as a literature, has not been done full-fledgedly, not at all. Maybe some of the articles has been written for the diaspora and food. Just as, for example, Jhumpa Ladi, we all know this. But for other literature point of view, as for example, psychology, as for example, post-colonialism, as for example, anthropology, as for example, populism, fine, cookbooks, travel books, we do not have any other primary sources or the secondary sources for reviewing the literature. So what we should do is that, sir, we create our own methodology by reviewing the related literature on smoking, on drinking alcohol, on literature. There are several other things on cake, on gupchup. So we are searching these things in the literature or on the books, that how does this actually comes in. Then we'll be creating our own canon. And we have created our canon. Still, when it will be published, I will show you, sir. Definitely, I'll be very pleased to show you that this is how I've done. If there is no availability of literature, you create your own canon by finding some other, by finding several key concepts which may be common to your research or to others' research. This is actually I done, and obviously successfully done.
Thank you very much, Dr.
Thank you,
Panda. And thank you, Basharat, for your question. So while we take any other question from the participants, I have more of it's not a question, basically, but it's probably a query I have regarding the multidisciplinary research, sir, because that is what the NEP now focuses on, that there is now scope for interdisciplinary or multidisciplinary research. So for our participants, for our scholars or students who might be willing to take up such kind of research, the review of literature in one discipline is hard enough as it is, but how would they approach an interdisciplinary research topic and try and find out the the review of literature in an interdisciplinary topic? If you may give your input, sir.
Yes, as for example, ma'am, one of the research is doing that post-humanism. As for example, post-humanism, the mutant technology, biometrics and the biotechnology, AI, artificial intelligence,
even digital humanities, sir.
Even digital humanities also. Yeah, you're correct. So when I was doing some on that animal studies and AI, artificial intelligence, superhero comics, and the biometrical, the mutant thing. So some of the researchers are doing it. They felt very complications while they were reviewing the literature of the biology or the biotechnology, because mutants, sir, versus sir, ma'am, you may. I'm telling you that mutant thing, but for an art student or for a literature student, I cannot understand that biotechnology related to the mutant technology. I cannot understand that. But for an AI or for an post-humanism or for an interdisciplinary studies, we need to go with that. But again, there is some restriction, probably, ma'am. The restriction is that if you are belonging to the arts group or the humanities group, you have to limit. You have to create a kind of limitations. You cannot go beyond that. You cannot go beyond the biotechnology because you will not understand. Is it okay? As for example, you may go to that prosthetics, that mask, that the disability studies. You can go to the psychology even, but you cannot. As rightly you said that there is some difficulty for reviewing the literature of the biotechnology, reviewing the literature of the machine learning. That is the you can call it the engineering and all. You cannot go there. You cannot go. But yeah, I've been telling you, one of my friend is IIT Gandhinagar is still there. He has done a research on mathematics and Lacan, mathematics and Beckett, Samuel Beckett and mathematics. Is it okay? So again, it's an interdisciplinary studies, but he has got a background of a science. So it's becoming easy for him, but for me, it will be very tough. So we need to somewhere we need to limit the things.
Thank you so much, sir,
Thank you so
for that insight.
Thank you.
Due to the paucity of time, sir, we won't be able to take more questions as we have to start our second technical session. But we'll be taking one last question from Sri Vidya before we conclude the first technical session. Kindly unmute yourself, Vidya, and pose your question.
Good evening, sir, and good evening, madam, and good evening to all. I heard literature review has to be done based on the highly cited journals. Is it correct, madam and sir? How can I find the highly cited journals, and how can I?
No. It's not. I'm not telling you, or probably we are not telling you to find out the highly cited journals. It's not at all necessary. I'm telling you. But
Okay, sir.
what I'm telling you, ma'am, that the availability of those materials, it should be trustworthy.
Okay, sir.
It should be trustworthy, ma'am. Otherwise, it will lead you towards in a dangerous situation. It will give you another way outlook. So
Okay.
and then if you follow that, you will be finding that yourself in a trap situation. That oh my God, what happened? I'm going in a right direction, no, wrong directions. So it may
Okay, sir.
mislead you. That is
Okay.
why actually I tell you.
Okay, sir.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
sir.
that's
Just I heard this concept. That's what I heard. I
no, no,
asked
no, no,
you.
no, not at all,
Um,
ma'am, not at all. Please don't do.
okay, okay, sir. Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, Vidyaji, and thank you so much, Prasanji, for
Yeah.
joining us today in the virtual mood on the first day, the first technical session of the
Thank you so
week-long
much.
international
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
technical development program. Hoping that we'll be inviting you again and again
No, thank you.
to speak on various topics related to research or related to humanities. Thank you so much
Thank you.
for being with us today.
Thank you
sir.
so much. Thank you so much, ma'am, and Regan sir, and the universities and the authorities to giving me the chance to speak on something which I can do that. And I hope that my lecture actually enlightened probably a few who were there in that virtual
All of
platform.
us, sir.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.